So news today from Air Canada, and this follows other airlines that have done kind of the same thing. They've decided they're going to be cutting some routes. All this, I guess, from what I can tell here, at least from their press release, is because of higher jet fuel costs. And then they say lower demands to trips or for trips south of the border. So John Gradek's a faculty lecturer of operations and integrated aviation management at McGill. We often speak when it comes to these kinds of matters. John, thanks for coming on. And let me ask the question, this whole idea of lower demand for trips south of the border, I thought demand, at least from what I read about a week or so ago, was starting to pick up again. Are you buying that?
Well, it's picking up. It's picking up in certain markets in the U.S. in certain time frames. So if you want to go to Florida around December 22nd, December 23rd, you're going to pay big bucks to get there if there's space. So it all depends on the markets that you're flying into, the time of year. So yeah, it's kind of flattening out, but there are still some city pairs that Air Canada identified yesterday that were, I would say, the usual suspects, the Montreal, Minneapolis, or Montreal routes that they were looking at, Montreal, Detroit and stuff, and Toronto to Indianapolis, St. Paul as well. Those were the same routes they canceled last year at this time. So, the press release came out yesterday and said, oh, it's because of fuel. Then they went about an hour later and said, oops, it's not because of fuel, really, it's because of low demand. So I'm not sure what the story is. It's definitely not fuel, in my opinion. It's probably the fact that the U.S. downturn is still there and that Canadians are still staying away from traveling to the U.S.
I get some of the smaller destinations, like you mentioned St. Paul or whatever, Detroit, not everyone going, there's a regular tourist destination. But when they say they're also basically cutting down when they start flights to Florida, I mean, Florida's a huge, I'm assuming in Ontario it's as big as it's in Quebec. That struck me as a bit unusual.
Yeah, no, they're not canceling any services in terms of abandoning a service to Orlando or Fort Lauderdale or anything like that. What they're doing is that we call it in the airline business shouldering the product. So instead of starting the product up in the start of the winter schedule, which is October 27th, they were trying to sell it. Not many people are buying October 27th. Traffic starting up on December 15th thereabouts. So they're saying rather than putting a sale on to fill the airplanes up, we might as well just cancel the flight and start operations when passengers want to fly, which is mid-December.
Which begs the question, I guess, you talked about starting a sale. I mean, we were used to, in past years anyway, having these sales happen on a pretty regular basis. Why do they pass up on that, do you think?
Oh, I think the costs are huge. I think they'd rather have the airplanes park the airplanes rather than fly the airplanes with a bunch of cheap fares in there. Like the cost of flying airplanes these days is still pretty high. Fuel has gone up about 15% year over year. It's come down from 50, now it's down to 15, but still that's a significant amount of increases in cost. So rather than fly an airplane with cheap seats, they'd rather cancel the flight and save the cost of fuel.
Which kind of, I wonder if that's a fair question. Let's say you booked one of these flights, right, and you got one in October and you're thinking of going, and now you're finding out they canceled your flight. What happens to you?
Well, they'll send you a note. They'll say, oh, by the way, we just canceled your flight. Here's a couple of alternatives that you have in terms of flight schedules. We'll fly you, over Toronto, or we'll fly you via New York or via Chicago to your destination. So it's your choice. They're doing this cancellation 14 days ahead of time, which means that the only thing that they're obligated to do is to offer you an alternative flight. Then it's your choice as to whether you accept it or whether you say no, and then they refund you.
But it's not going to cost you any money.
Shouldn't cost you any money.
Shouldn't. Oh, good. Shouldn't cost you any money. Oh, that's great. Okay.
There you go. Yeah, this is the airline business.
Yeah.
Aaron.
After all, yeah.
You know how it works.
So it's funny. We were trying to book something on Air Canada on a site, my wife and I yesterday, because she's going to be going to Europe, right? And there's a promo code box, and someone had a promo code, and you put it in, and before you could even get to the next screen, it told you your promo code, even though it was an Air Canada promo code, was not valid. So, for what it's worth, they're not going to lose any money, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they're not giving it away. Where was she going? Europe or
going to Europe.
Yeah, August.
No, September.
Oh, it's still peak. You'll be paying big bucks to get there.
Yeah.
But you may.
Thank you for that, John.
Maybe easy to get there, but tougher to get back. So.
Oh, great. By the way, this is the thing that surprised me as well. Those routes that were cut, I don't know if this is just Air Canada, Montreal to New York or Toronto to New York to JFK, they're not returning this winter, which again strikes me as kind of odd.
Yeah, you have to understand New York. They're serving LaGuardia, they're serving Newark, and they're serving JFK. JFK doesn't have a lot of traffic that basically is flying to JFK as a destination. When you fly to JFK, you fly as a connection to someplace.
Okay.
So the Air Canada say, rather than fly people to New York as a connection, we'll keep them in Montreal or Toronto, and we'll fly them on our own international services to where they want to go and connect them in Europe or Asia, wherever they're going. So rather than give them to New York, they'll say they'll take it on their own.
Do you think this is temporary, by the way? Is this just a matter of, when things get back to normal and it's not even a 15% added, premium for fuel? Do we get back to normal, or do you think this sticks around for a while?
They find normal. We're not going to go back to the fuel prices that we had back in January. Mm-hmm. We're sitting at around $2.50 a gallon. Those days are long gone. So so the new normal is going to be somewhere around $3.50, $3.75 a gallon, and we're going to be in a situation where, prices have gone up about 40% on the international services. When's the last time you saw a price go down, except for a sale?
Okay.
But those fares are high, the prices of fuel are high, so the odds of getting a deal few and far between.
Last question, just really quick, not to do with this specifically. So we have a new airport here. Have you had a chance to check it out, and what's your take so far?
Yes, sir. I was at the airport. It's interesting. It's St. Hubert's a nice place to go for you from Griffintown down to St. Hubert. He's traveling on the 2 and 20 and out to the airport at Trudeau. So it's about 25-minute ride from downtown. But one thing I like about it, from the time you park your car until the time you get on the airplane, less than 500 steps.
Okay. Good sign. So for anybody, and I know for people just finding out about it, right, you can fly from here to Vancouver without having to go to Trudeau or go through any of that stuff. So there's a bonus right away.
Yeah, it is, and lots of parking. It's not free, of course. We wish it were, but it is an efficient airport. It's built for speed. It's not built for a lot of concessions and a lot of shops and stuff. It's there for you to go through the airport and go through it quickly. So
get in, get out, go to where you're going. Absolutely.
Only flying domestic though. Can't fly international.
For now. John Gradek. John, always appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Listen, and you're there. For heart-wrenching knockouts,
the world's biggest stage,
and breathtaking triumph. 2026 FIFA World Cup, the knockout stage. Every match, every moment. Listen on TSN Radio. Join the globe on the road to the July 19th final. 2026 FIFA World Cup. Stream it all live on TSN Radio. Available on iHeartRadio.